If this is you sitting there, phone in hand, staring at the last text she sent and pretending it doesn't hurt, pretending it's just fine, but your chest still tightens every time you see her name. Maybe this hits closer than you expected, because you know the way she laughed at something dumb last week, the way she leaned in closer when no one else was around, and now, silence. Cold, like she folded herself away from you. You catch yourself scrolling, looking for a clue, a sign, anything, and yeah, you hate that you do. But it's like a reflex now. You replay every conversation, every pause, every laugh that sounded too real, too close. You remember the little things. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she looked at you. The corners of her mouth just almost smiling. And now she acts cold. Like she's untouchable. Like she's already moved on, and you're stuck here, trying to make sense of the gap she left. You tell yourself you're fine. You whisper it to the empty room, but maybe, just maybe, you notice the cracks, the tiny slips, the lingering good mornings that feel forced, the text she never sends but could. You feel it. Don't lie. You feel it. You've avoided it. The regret, the quiet voice in the back of your mind that says, maybe she still cares. You shove it down. Pretend it's nothing. But alone, 3 a.m., dark room, phone screen glowing, everything comes up. The what ifs. The I shouldn't have said that. The moments that sting worse in the silence. And it's frustrating, angry even, because you want her to be distant. You tell yourself you do. But your gut, it tells a different story. Little things. Tiny gestures she doesn't know you notice. The way she remembers something you said months ago. The way she reacts just slightly when your name comes up, subtle, almost invisible. But enough. So tell me when she's acting cold, when her words are clipped, and her eyes, maybe just for a second, linger. Do you see it? Or do you keep pretending she's gone? Look, I've seen this 100 times. Guys sitting there, convinced she's done, that the cold shoulder is the final word, and they panic. They text. They chase. They overthink. But that's the trap. Most men think distance means she doesn't care. That silence equals rejection. They're wrong. I remember a guy I knew, call him Alex. He was obsessed. Every word she didn't say felt like a punch. Every small pause, a failure. And yet, when they bumped into each other at a coffee shop, she smiled. Just a small thing. A tilt of her head. Not enough for him to feel safe, but enough. And that's the thing. You notice the tiny cracks if you're paying attention. Tiny details that tell a story bigger than words. Here's what most men miss: caring doesn't always scream. It whispers. It lingers. In the way she double checks if you're okay. The slight hesitation before she steps away. The way she remembers something ridiculous you mentioned once and laughs at it later. You think it's nothing. But it isn't. It's her way of saying she's still there, without admitting it, without drama. Masculine principle 1: patience is a weapon, not weakness. When she's cold, when the words aren't there, your strength is in standing still. Not begging, not forcing, standing steady. Because what she's testing, without realizing it, is if you're anchored. Not just for her, but for yourself. Anchored in your life, your routine, your calm. Most guys forget that humans are messy. You, me, her, we all have cracks. She might act cold because she's scared. Maybe she's ashamed. Maybe she's overthinking the same thing you are. And the truth is, if you overreact, it doesn't reveal your feelings. It reveals your anxiety. That's the difference. Calm authority doesn't chase, it observes. It reads the room. It notices the small, almost invisible things that tell the real story. I remember sitting on a park bench once. Just me, a coffee, and the wind cutting through the city. I saw her across the street, laughing at something I couldn't hear. And for a moment I realized she still noticed. She still cared. The gestures were tiny, almost laughable if you weren't paying attention. But they were there, and that's what most men miss. Masculine principle 2. Respect boundaries without losing yourself. You don't push. You don't chase. You honor the space she's creating. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're aware. It means you're present without desperation. It's a silent message: I'm here, anchored. I don't need your approval to exist. That's magnetic. That's what makes her care come forward eventually. And here's the hard truth most men ignore. If she's acting cold, it's rarely about you. Rarely about rejection. Mostly, it's about her process, her fears, her pride. But if you misread it, if you assume the worst and act out of panic, you bury the very connection you hope to save. So the next time she steps back, or her words are clipped, or her message is slow, don't panic. Watch. Notice the cracks. The tiny signals that tell you more than her silence. Stay anchored. Respect the space. And trust that what matters isn't the immediate reaction, it's the long game. The calm, steady presence that says, I see you. I know to care without chasing. And when you do that, when you hold your space, honor the subtle cues, and remain steady, you'll start seeing her differently. She'll act cold, yes, but she'll show the care you thought was lost. In ways most men overlook, small human ways. Honest, quiet, real ways. He's sitting on the edge of the bed. Room's too quiet. The hum of the fridge in the kitchen. Tick of the clock that suddenly feels loud. His phone face down, he doesn't want to look. But he does. Maybe. He remembers the coffee shop. Last week, she laughed at something stupid he said. Her hand brushed his arm. Just a flick, just a moment. And now, cold. Ice in her words, short replies, long silences. He tries to tell himself it's nothing, but the skin on his neck prickles anyway. He thinks of the jacket she left. Worn smell of her perfume still there. He pulls it closer, breathes it in, tells himself it's just fabric, just a smell. But it's not, it's her. It's always been her. His mind loops. The stupid argument. The thing he said didn't mean. Or did he? He can't remember. She won't answer anyway. He imagines her in the living room, staring out the window. She taps her fingers against the glass. She's thinking. She's thinking about him. He knows it. He just knows. There's a knock at the door. No one. Just the wind. Cold air seeps in from under the crack. Makes him shiver. Makes him remember. She always noticed the little things. Cold drafts. Lights left on. Coffee too strong. She cared even when she pretended not to. He scrolls through old messages. Small emojis, tiny jokes. The way she used to say his name, like it meant something. Like it still does. His chest tightens. He hates it, loves it. Both at once. He leans back. Floor cold under his bare feet, heart pounding. He almost whispers her name. Almost. Then silence again. The apartment empty but for him and the echo of her. He imagines her coming back in, sitting across from him, saying nothing. Just looking. That look that cuts through every lie he tells himself. That look that says she's still there. She always has been. And he realizes cold acts are just that. Acts. Small gestures. Tiny cracks in her armor. Signs he might miss if he's not paying attention. She's still here. Even when she's gone. Even when she's quiet. Even when she doesn't say it. He breathes. Lets the weight settle. The apartment still hums. The fridge. The clock. The wind. But now he notices maybe she left more than her jacket behind. Maybe she left herself. And maybe that's enough. Most guys think if she's cold, she's done. Finished. End of story. That's belief number one. And it sneaks in quietly, makes you panic. Makes you reach for your phone when you shouldn't. But here's the thing, cold doesn't always mean gone. Sometimes it's her way of protecting herself. Or testing if you'll stand still. I remember a friend, Sam, he thought she hated him because she didn't answer fast. Every pause felt like a wall. He panicked. He chased. She pulled back. But months later, after he learned to stay steady, she smiled across a room. Tiny glance. That was all. But it said everything. Belief number two, that silence is rejection. That if she's quiet, it's because she stopped caring. Wrong. She might be thinking, processing, guarding herself. Or maybe she's waiting to see if you notice the small signs. She didn't ghost you. You disappeared from yourself. That one hits hard when you sit alone at 2 a.m. and realize you've been running from your own presence more than anything else. Belief three, attention equals love. Men confuse a response with validation. If she doesn't text back immediately, the story's over. But attention is cheap. Respect is priceless. You respect her space, you respect yourself. That's magnetic. That's what makes her care surface. I've watched it in real life. A guy named Leo. She went cold for a week. He wanted to call, text, explain himself. He didn't. He focused on his work, his routine, his gym. Then she came around, not with a speech, not with drama, just a quiet smile. And Leo realized, you don't lose her. You lose your own presence. See the pattern. It's never as simple as cold tight gone. It's messy, human. And most guys sabotage themselves because they buy into the myths instead of noticing the signs hiding in small gestures, little cracks in her armor. Tiny moments where she's still there, even if she pretends she isn't. You breathe, you notice, you let the panic slide off your shoulders. And slowly, you see the truth. She's still here, maybe she always was, and the only thing you need to do is stay anchored, stay present. Don't chase, don't panic, watch, learn, feel. This is what he understands. Most men see her cold words and think the battle is lost. They panic, they text, they over-explain, they overreact. But he sees the space she's creating, the pause, the quiet, and he doesn't flinch. He doesn't need to fill it with noise. This is how he leads, with presence, not pressure. He keeps his routine, gym, work, friends, whatever grounds him. She acts distant, fine. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He doesn't overthink every tiny pause. He notices the small things she can't hide. The subtle laugh, the brush of her hand against his, the way she remembers a joke from months ago. That's enough. He knows it's enough. He understands patience isn't waiting. It's showing up fully where he belongs, in his own life, not in her responses. He remembers the guy from the coffee shop story. Panicked, texted too much, lost his own rhythm, and he saw the difference the next week when he stayed anchored. Small smiles, small glances. She still cared. She always did. Strength over noise. Centeredness over chasing. That's the 1% headman. He doesn't need to prove he's wanted. He proves he's steady, that he has a life outside the panic, that he's solid whether she comes forward today or tomorrow or a week later. That energy pulls quietly, not loudly, not aggressively. He lets her act cold, not because he doesn't notice, not because he doesn't care, but because he knows care is deeper than texts, replies, or her tone in a message. He sees the tiny cracks, the small ways she's still present, and he matches it, not by force, not by desperation, by anchored calm, by being himself. And the headman knows something most men never realize. The moment he stops chasing, stops panicking, stops trying to fill the silence, that's when she shows up in ways he couldn't manufacture. That's when care becomes visible. That's when presence becomes magnetic. This is what he understands. And it's simple, messy, human. Steady heart, steady mind, steady life. That's all. That's enough. He's on the balcony. Night air sharp against his skin. The city hums below. A text blinks. He doesn't reach. Not yet. Something shifts. Maybe it's the cold. Maybe it's him noticing the weight in his chest isn't hers. It's his own panic. Flashes. Her laugh at the coffee shop. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. Tiny signs he missed. Tiny signs she's still here, even when she's quiet. And then that memory hits. Him alone, scrolling, chasing, panicking. He remembers how hollow it felt, how he disappeared from himself. He breathes, really breathes. Feels the skin, the wind, the pulse in his wrists. He whispers, almost to himself, I am enough. The words taste strange but heavy, solid. And then he notices the pause, the cracks in her cold act, little gestures, almost invisible. And it lands. He doesn't need to bend, chase, beg. He doesn't need to break himself to pull her close. The city hums. The night is still. He stands taller, anchored, present, calm. And in that quiet, almost unnoticed moment, he feels that he's back, whole. And that changes everything. She's cold. You feel it. The distance. The clipped words. The empty space where warmth used to live. And yeah, it stings. Chest tight. Get twisted. You've replayed it 1,000 times. But then you see it. The tiny slip. The brush of her hand. The way her eyes linger. Subtle. Almost invisible. Enough to break your panic. Enough to remind you she's still here. You breathe. You stand. Anchored. Solid. Whole. And in that quiet, in that pause, you realize the truth. She never left. You just had to find yourself first.